A full system reinstall is supposed to be the hard reset button of cybersecurity wipe the disk, reinstall the OS, and assume the threat is gone. But what if the threat never lived inside the operating system in the first place? What if it was sitting one layer deeper starting before your OS, before your antivirus, before anything you can actually see? That's where Bootkits and UEFI Rootkits change the rules of the game. Welcome to BlueHat Cybersec Academy. In this entry of the Malware Encyclopedia, we're going to break everything down step by step: how bootkits abuse the boot process, how MBR infections actually work, why UEFI and firmware-level rootkits are significantly more dangerous, and finally, why these threats can survive even full system reinstalls. Now, when we talk about bootkits refusing to leave, we're talking about malware that completely rejects the normal idea of software behavior. Most malware runs inside the operating system, depends on system APIs, and disappears when the OS is wiped. Bootkits don't play by those rules. They aim for something much deeper execution before the operating system even loads. And to make that idea easier to visualize, think of it like this. If the OS is the city, then bootkits don't live inside buildings. They live in the road system that builds the city every morning. And that single shift in location completely changes how detection and removal work. Now let's slow down and look at how this actually happens during startup. Bootkits work by targeting what we call the boot process, the exact sequence that runs when a computer powers on. So here's the normal flow, step by step, in plain terms. First, firmware initializes hardware. Then the bootloader loads. Then the operating system starts. And only after all of that do security tools begin to activate. A bootkit inserts itself directly into that chain. Instead of waiting for Windows or Linux to load, it loads first, quietly modifies what comes after it, and essentially shapes the system before it fully exists. That gives attackers something extremely powerful: control over what the operating system becomes before it even starts. Now, one of the oldest but still important techniques here is what we call MBR infections, or master boot record infections. The MBR is tiny, but it plays a critical role. It tells the system where and how to load the operating system. If malware modifies or replaces the MBR, it is essentially rewriting the system's boot instructions. And this is where things become dangerous, because of three important assumptions built into older systems. First, the operating system trusts the MBR by default. Second, the boot process executes it automatically. Third, security tools are not active at that stage. So if the MBR is infected, it can quietly load malicious code before the operating system even begins its own defenses. And what makes this worse is that even if everything later looks clean inside the OS, the infection may already be operating underneath it. Now let's talk about timing, because bootkits rely heavily on a very specific weakness: the moment during startup where nothing is fully active yet. During this early boot stage, three things are usually true. Antivirus is not running. Security drivers are not loaded. Logging systems are incomplete or inactive. That creates a short but extremely valuable window for attackers. Bootkits use that window to inject themselves into memory, alter boot instructions, or patch system components before anything is actively monitoring the system. And once they succeed, they can modify how the kernel loads. They can patch system components before execution, and they can even hide their presence from the operating system entirely. At that point, detection becomes extremely difficult because the system is already compromised before any monitoring tools even exist. Now let's move into the modern evolution of this idea: UEFI rootkits. As systems evolved, traditional BIOS was replaced in many machines by UEFI Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. UEFI brought stronger security features, but it also introduced a new attack surface. UEFI rootkits operate inside the firmware layer, and that layer sits below everything else below the operating system, and even below the bootloader itself. So instead of living on the disk as a normal file, these rootkits live inside firmware, which is the low-level code responsible for initializing hardware before the OS even starts loading. And this leads to a very important consequence that often surprises people. Reinstalling the operating system does not remove firmware infections. Disk formatting does not affect UEFI storage, and security tools running inside the OS cannot easily inspect firmware. So even after what looks like a completely clean installation, the malware may still be there, waiting underneath everything. Now we go even deeper into firmware rootkits. These are even more extreme because they don't just target system firmware. They can infect embedded components such as motherboard firmware, network card firmware, and storage controller firmware. These components operate independently of the operating system, so even if you replace your hard drive entirely, the infection can still survive, because in some cases, it was never on the drive in the first place. And this breaks one of the most common assumptions in security, that wiping storage equals wiping malware. With firmware-level threats, that assumption no longer holds. Now let's connect everything into one idea: persistence beyond the operating system. Bootkits and firmware rootkits are powerful because they don't depend on the OS to exist. They can survive operating system reinstalls, disk formatting in some cases, partition restructuring, and even partial hardware changes. And the reason is simple: they exist before the operating system does. That completely changes how incident response works in real environments. Cleaning Windows or Linux alone is no longer enough. The entire boot chain has to be considered as part of the threat. Now the natural question becomes, why are these so difficult to detect? And the answer comes down to one core issue: these threats operate below the tools designed to find them. Most security systems assume a few things by default: that the operating system is trustworthy, that boot components are intact, and that firmware has not been modified. Bootkits remove all of those assumptions, and because of that, detection often requires deeper methods such as secure boot validation, firmware integrity analysis, offline system scanning, and hardware-based attestation techniques. Even then, detection is not always guaranteed. So let's bring this all together. Bootkits and UEFI rootkits reveal a very uncomfortable truth in cybersecurity. Whoever controls the boot process controls the system. Once malware moves below the operating system, it stops competing with applications and starts competing with the foundation everything depends on. That's why these threats matter, not because they are common, but because they redefine what a clean system actually means. If the boot process is compromised, everything above it becomes unreliable by default. And that leads us to the real takeaway. In cybersecurity, trust is not about what is running. It's about what started everything. Now let's turn this into a quick challenge, and I want you to answer in the comments. First question: why is the boot stage considered a blind spot for most security tools? Second question: what is the actual role of the MBR, and why do attackers target it? Third question: why do UEFI and firmware rootkits survive even after a full operating system reinstall? And fourth question: which do you think is harder to secure in practice? The operating system layer or the firmware layer, and why? And if you're enjoying the Malware Encyclopedia series, make sure you like the video, share it with someone learning cybersecurity, and subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because in cybersecurity, the deeper you understand the system, the clearer it becomes where real control actually lives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next entry of the Malware Encyclopedia.